Today I have to install an outlet box for this cooler to get rid of this extension cord that they have run through the doorway. Start by marking the box, drill out a couple holes for the anchors. We'll knock out a hole in the box so we can install a connector for the pipe. You want to make sure that the set screw for the connector is pointed forward, just for a professional look. Put in the plastic anchors, mount the box. Might have to give it a tap to make sure it's level. Take a measurement, find the difference from the height of the top of the box to the back of the 90 where you want the pipe to bend. That'll be your measurement for the back of the 90. Put the pipe on the box. You'll have to put another strap to hold it in place within 36 inches of the top of the box. Tighten up that last set screw. Now we get our measurement for the wall penetration. You got the measurement to the height of the pipe, thickness of the wall, and the measurement of where I want to reflect that on the outside. Drill pilot hole, change out to a longer bit, but don't use the full size bit that you need yet. This is just a pilot bit to make sure you're in the right spot. Everything looks good so far, so I'm gonna change out to the bigger bit and finish the hole. Go ahead and support this horizontal section of pipe with another strap now that I know the hole's lined up in the right spot. Slides the pipe right in. I don't know until I come look at it, but that pipe slid right in like a glove. Now you get the, what was that measurement for there? Not this box here. This is just a junction box. It's a pull point, because if you tried to pull through that many bends from the panel all the way to the outlet, it would, especially by myself, it would be impossible. So I've reflected the measurement for the connector on the bottom of the box to the pipe where the back of the 90 is supposed to be. And that's what I'm bending now. I actually bent from my initial mark, not the 5-inch mark, so I had to cut 5 inches off. But it's all good. Slide that pipe in. Now I'm gonna mark the bottom of the pipe where it hits the bottom of the box. And then we'll cut that to fit inside the box. You may have to loosen the box up again to get it onto the pipe and then retighten it back down. And don't forget to tighten up your couplers over here. Now to go from the box to the panel, we'll put a connector on the left side of the box. And then we have to put a strap within 3 feet. I don't have any square washers, but I do have some 1/4-20 nuts. So I made this little contraption. And that'll go right here like this. And that's to hold the pipe coming out of the box, going towards the panel. So we get the measurement to the inside of the connector, and then the measurement to where the inside of the pipe is going to hit the strut, and that difference will be the kick. I've also installed a dummy pipe on top of this panel where our pipe is going to go to help get a measurement for the back of the 90 off of the box. Bend that, make sure it's straight, and then use a straight edge to get your measurement for the kick off of the back of the 90. Just like that. I usually do 10 to 12 inches for a kick, depending on how long of a kick it is. Use your alignments to level the pipe, to keep it level as you bend. And I use the stick rule because it's a little straighter, a little more forgiving than a tape measure. The difference ended up being 4 3/4 for the kick. Make sure the pipe's level, line it up. Now I got my mark for where the top of the panel is going to be. Don't forget to ream it out. Make sure the end of that pipe is nice and smooth so the wire doesn't scrape on anything. Now, put the pipe in the panel. We have to put a connector in the top of the panel. So we'll take the panel cover off. There's a lot of wires in the way that have power passing through them. I took a zip tie to pull some of them out of the way as best I could. But when you drill that hole, there's going to be a hot piece of metal falling in that panel. So I took this screw case, emptied the screws, and put that in the panel to help catch the hot piece of metal so it doesn't burn the wires and fall into the panel. Now we slide the pipe back into the box through the strap, land the other end in the top of the panel, bada bing, bada boom. Put the strap in. Oh yeah, that's right. You have to put the one piece of strap in first because the pipes are too tight together, and then drop the pipe in. So you get it in there, get the strap in there. You know, you don't have to use a drill for everything. Sometimes if you want to get that extra little bit of tightness in, it's good to grab a hand screwdriver and get that manual labor down, you know. I can usually get a mini strap finger tight with my fingers. And there we go. Got the finished pipe, point A to point B, and then point B to point C. Now it's time to pull wire. This is just a 120 volt circuit, black, white, green. I put a loop in the end of the wire to help feed it through the pipe. I shouldn't need a fish tape for this. The pipe's short enough. I should be able to just push it. Now we got it coming out of the first box. Go ahead, you might have to get yourself a little bit of slack, especially pulling by yourself. It makes it easier than pulling straight off of the wheel. Get yourself some slack at your pull point and then start pushing the rest of the way to the final outlet. You see 3 wires and a half inch pipe. It goes pretty smooth. Being that this box is the pull point, there aren't any broken conductors in that junction box, so we don't need a ground screw in that junction box. We do need a ground screw in the outlet box. Go ahead and push all the slack back towards the panel, and when you're done, you should have something that looks like this. Now it's time to get the outlets ready. You have to prep these outlets. It takes a minute. Break these tabs off, both outlets. You'll also want to pull the screws out and put them off to the side for later. Do that with both outlets. I'm gonna attach the grounds. I only have number 10 stranded ground wire with me, which won't really wrap good around the screws, so I have to install these crimps. Once you get the crimps installed, go ahead and attach that to the outlet on the green ground screw. Tighten it down, and we'll do that for both outlets before moving on to the neutral. Put a little button hook. The neutral's a solid 12 gauge wire. Put a little button hook in that, wrap that around the screw, tighten that down. I leave my neutral wires long when I'm making a quad receptacle outlet, and I will strip the middle of the neutral wire to minimize the amount of wires underneath of a wire nut and kind of cut down on box fill. I'm sure some people will have a problem with the way I do this, but I've been doing it like this for 20 years, so I've never heard anything or had a problem with it. We'll do the same thing with the black conductor, also known as the hot. And that's your finished product. Got the outlets set up. Go ahead and tape up the exposed conductors because these outlets will be inside of a metal box, which makes them more likely to have a short between the outlets and the box. Tape helps eliminate any extra hazards, any potential for anybody servicing it in the future to get shocked. Now we can put this cover on. Save the screws. These little screws, I lose them all the time. Make sure you save them in a nice spot. I get the outlets attached in place with the center screws first, like a normal outlet. But then you also have to secure the tops and the bottoms of each outlets with the added screw and nut. We'll do that for all 4 of those around the outlet. And then we have our cover. Now we have to attach the splice. I've already grounded the box and left the ground tail coming off of the box. So we'll splice our ground to that. Make sure your wire nuts are nice and tight. You don't want that wire to slip out from under the wire nut. Twist your whites together, twist your blacks together, snip off any excess. Go ahead and wire nut those together. Same as the ground. Now we can mash everything into the box nice and neat and close up the cover, put the final box screws in. Time to install the wire onto the breaker. Now this panel is pretty full in here. We're gonna land the ground first, and then the neutral, and then the hot. We do that because it goes from the least amount of risk to the highest amount of risk. Granted, it's all risky when you're sticking your hands in a live panel. But electricians tend to look at ground as the least risk, doesn't pass voltage. It's just a backup. The neutral, also known as the ungrounded conductor, which is what I'm working on now, it's kind of a return path, so it does pass voltage, and it passes voltage with a higher load sometimes, which could kill you easier than the hot. But I still work on the neutral before the hot. Now you see here we do have one space in the panel, so I lucked out there. Empty 20 amp breaker, that's what I need, is a 20 amp circuit. So we'll go ahead, work the hot down behind all these conductors nice and neat, and go ahead and land that on the 20 amp breaker. Make sure all your screws are tight. You can go ahead and check some of the other wires if you want to too, being that you were the last hands in the panel. You want to make sure everything's tight. Put the dead front cover back on, the regular cover back on. Made up a nice little label here for these guys because their list is full, so I used a label to cover up what was already there for the storage cooler. And then that's the finished product. Label the outlet. We got 120.